before we get into this video, just want to say, guys, that this episode is presented by Prize Picks. Be sure to visit the Prize Picks app today for a $100 deposit match when you sign up. What is going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. Guys, I'm trying to wrap my head around what I'm reading right now. There's extreme disconnect once again between the Indianapolis Colts and between the players and their defensive coordinator, Gus Bradley, once again. It's a lot to unpack, guys. We're going to get into that. But before we do, just want to say again, this episode is presented by Prize Picks. Be sure to visit the Prize Picks app today and use the code BTJ for a $100 deposit match when you sign up. Guys, it's no secret that the Indianapolis Colts defense has played atrociously at the start of this 2024 season. Regardless of the points allowed per game, regardless of a few other stats, they're giving up the most rushing yards of any defense in the NFL right now, and it has prohibited them from being able to get the job done in their first 2 weeks of the season. And despite the confidence that is stated by Shane Steichen and Gus Bradley being able to figure it out, a lot of Colts fans, including myself, don't really see that happening. But what I wanted to talk about with today's video in particular is we're talking about there was apparently a quote that was said by Taven Bryan, a defensive tackle who will probably have to see an increase in snaps due to the injury to all-pro defensive tackle DeForest Buckner, who was placed on IR this week and will probably have to miss at least a month's worth of football before he can come back from that sprained ankle. I know that the injuries have not been great for the Indianapolis Colts defense this year, but I don't think that has anything to do with the abysmal defensive performances we have seen through the first 2 weeks. And now you are going to be missing some of your biggest guys, and this is where you start getting into a problem. So, some of the Colts reporters were asking, and it was mainly Nate Atkins that tweeted this. So this is what Nate Atkins tweeted, okay? So he said, I talked to Taven Bryan to figure out why he's playing nose tackle at this stage of his career. And then he says he doesn't know either. And quotes, it's not going to look that great. And Nate Atkins also reporting again, the Colts are off to the worst start for a run defense since 1978. So within almost 40 years. So why are they doing this? And Nate proceeded to write an article about it. So again, regardless of what Nate tweeted, let's actually read the context behind the quote that we're seeing here. So, first thing, I think it should be noted that in that same article, some of the things that Gus Bradley proceeded to say about it, he is a swing guy, is what they said. He's a swing guy. He can play nose, and he can play three. That's what Gus Bradley said. So he gives us flexibility, and he plays both of them at a consistent level. Guys, football season is right around the corner. Definitely got to make sure you're getting in on the excitement with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. You guys can now win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks, guys. You can turn $10 into $1,000 with any entries today on Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. I mean, guys, look, I'm looking at some of these entries here. And if you're an Indianapolis Colts fan like myself, which you probably are because you're on here right now, well, I'm just looking at some of these season numbers here. And some of the stuff for Anthony Richardson, I have to get in on. Guys, we have one right here where it's 7.5 on the season rushing touchdowns for Anthony Richardson. Folks, Anthony Richardson had 4 rushing touchdowns in just 10 quarters of football last season. What do you think he's going to do this year when he's actually healthy and fully capable of going? Now, obviously, they're playing into the fact that they think he might get injured. Anthony Richardson doesn't. That 7.5 is an easy more when you want to talk into that one, guys. So make sure you are getting in on the action of getting some of these numbers for Anthony Richardson and other Colts players as well. Remember, guys, be sure to download the Prize Picks app today and use the code BTJ for your first deposit match up to $100. I mean, the consistency part, I think a lot of us would sit here and agree that he might be consistent, might be consistently bad at both of them. I think all of us can sit here and agree Taven Bryan has not been a really good player ever since the Indianapolis Colts brought him in last year. And the Colts, even despite Taven Bryan being one of the worst defensive linemen in the rotation at all, brought him back again. And now we're in a situation where Nate asked Taven Bryan about the situation about playing nose. Says the 7th-year pro sees himself a different way. Says, I can play either. I don't really care for nose, but I can play it, Bryan said. We won't lose because of it, but it's not going to look that great. So, I mean, we're seeing now where the guy that you're having put in this position is telling the media, like, I can do it. It's not going to win us or lose us games, but it's certainly not going to look good with me being there. So the big question you have here is why is Taven Bryan being at a nose tackle position when he says he's not good at it? When he says it's not going to look great? I mean, it's not like there's a lot of other positions behind it that the Colts have. I mean, Grover Stewart can obviously play that nose tackle. Raekwon Davis would probably be better at that nose tackle too than Taven Bryan, at least from that perspective, because Taven Bryan is not as big and strong as Raekwon Davis is. So why is Gus Bradley sitting here telling us that he plays both of these positions at a consistent level when Taven Bryan is sitting there telling you that he's not? Like, he doesn't, he prefers to play the 3, and it's not going to look great when he's at nose. Your own players are coming out again saying this issue. And then more on Gus Bradley on Taven Bryan. He says he's mentally tough, strains, and does everything right. You know exactly where he's going to be, and you can count on and what you can count on from him every day. And James Boyd also reported that Bryan will likely see more playing time with DeForest Buckner being out. Like, again, when can you count on him? When can you count on him? What has he done? What has he done to help improve the rushing defense that we're seeing? I ain't seen it. Taven Bryan's been one of the worst defensive linemen on this team since he joined it. And yet you have the Gus Bradley pulling a bet or have a freaking pull a freaking sheet over our heads and telling us that it's nighttime when we can't even see any of it. Like, we don't know what's going on. Like, acting like as if Colts fans are dumb to even insinuate that Taven Bryan is actually even playing at a remotely okay level. He's not. Nobody on the defensive line really is right now. Nobody. But Taven Bryan has still been consistently one of the worst. And yet he has seen more playing time than he should be getting right now. For one, it's Chris Ballard's fault for even allowing this guy to remain on the roster. Should have done something to try to get more help on that defensive line to begin with. There's not a lot of other things that could have been worse than what Taven Bryan is. There can't possibly be that much worse, honestly. And guys, this isn't the first time that we have seen, albeit in 2022, we had players that were calling out the coaches on the team saying, we're running things that I don't see how it's doing good for us. You have Julian Blackmon and other people laughing at some of the stuff that they're having to do. And it's like, it's obvious. There's a huge disconnect here. And then obviously from this situation, Taven Bryan is not publicly calling out Gus Bradley, but he is openly admitting that the situations that he's being put in, it's not going to look great because he doesn't do very well at it. So if that tells you anything about this, I get it. There's not a ton of other help on that defensive line right now, but that's for you as a defensive coordinator to fix situations, to do things better, to make things right, to try to change things up so that your defense can be better. And if you're putting a guy in a position that he doesn't thrive in, well, then no wonder our team sucks at stopping it. Albeit, again, there's more things to it than that. But it's another case of Gus Bradley telling people one thing and thinking another when the players are thinking and acting differently. And it's not the first time that it's been happening either. And it wouldn't be the first time that a player has openly commented and said, I don't agree with, he didn't directly say, I don't agree with it, but his words definitely show you that he disagrees with how it's being ran. This isn't the first time, okay? And everybody knows that this Gus Bradley defense has not been great since he's gotten here. It was pretty good in 2022 when we had a secondary, but ever since then, it ain't been good. It ain't been good. Not even close. And you even have guys like Michael Lombardi, and you have Bill Belichick, and all these other guys coming on Pat McAfee's show, sitting there saying, like, this is a regular thing. Like, Gus Bradley is continuously not putting this defense in a great position to succeed, and it does not deserve any credit for anything, and he's helped inadequately letting this team down. Guys, I'll tell you right now, I am all aboard the fire Gus Bradley train. I will obviously root for Gus Bradley this year. I will obviously root for this defense. I will obviously root for this team. But I do not want Gus Bradley being the defensive coordinator of this team going forward. I don't want it. I don't. We've had a couple seasons now, and our defense has nothing to show for it. I know that Ballard also is to blame for this because he keeps rolling the same unit out there all the time, expecting these young guys to continue to be the ones to thrive and make this team better when it just isn't. At least not yet. But Gus Bradley also isn't helping this situation. I know DeForest Buckner got injured. I know that Juju Brents got injured. I know Latu got injured in the last week. I know that we had situations where the injuries have been piling up for this team. And Samson Ebukam being out for the entirety of the year, clearly you've had some major blows on the defensive line. But those major blows on the defensive line have not been the reason why you're giving up 230 yards a game rushing the football. There's something more at play here. And it has been probably, again, the defensive scheme. I know the players haven't played well. That's also on the coaches to light a fire under some of these players' asses to get things going. But this scheme, it's terrible. I don't like it. It doesn't bode well. It's outdated. It doesn't go well with it with guys that are not elite players, especially in the secondary, which we don't have right now. So I am fully aboard I do not want him on this. I don't want him being the defensive coordinator after this year. I don't. Because he's shown his inability or unwillingness to adapt any sort of thing that we do on this defense and has been negligent to try to improve anything or to change anything. So let me know what you guys think on this Taven Bryan thing. You guys think that this is are you surprised by this or am I making too much of it? What do you guys think? But that's going to do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts. Thank you so much. And as always,